we have some amount of news, which is that Juan Soto has met with 3 teams so far: the New York Mets, the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Boston Red Sox, with the expectation that the New York Yankees, the team he was employed by in 2024, will be meeting with him early this week.
Not an expectation. That is confirmed. Aaron Boone said that there's a meeting on the books between Soto, his agent Scott Boras, and Hal Steinbrenner and co. There will be lunch. Okay, they're going to do a meeting. That's happening.
Love that for them.
Before we laugh about the news of these meetings, do we think there's a chance he signs with a team that he doesn't meet with?
Well, so I guess we'll just bring the Nationals into this conversation. I know I keep kind of forcing them into it, but there could be meetings that we don't know about. There could be more meetings to come in the future. Now, I think based on the timing of this and all the reporting is that we are trying to kind of move this along, and we are not expecting this to drag into into January, let alone maybe even past the winter meetings. So I suppose it's possible if he has interest in another team and they are willing to give him an offer without some sort of get to know you situation, which of course he maybe would need less with the Washington Nationals. So I guess that would be an option, but otherwise I feel like probably not.
Quickly on the Nationals and how their meeting would go. For the non-Yankee meetings, it's Juan Soto walking in, shaking out his hand, and introducing himself. I'm Juan. And then John Schneider, the manager of the Blue Jays, goes, I'm John. For the Nats, it's Soto walking into the room and hugging Davey.
Yes,
Martinez,
it's hugging Davey, it's hugging Mike Rizzo, and then it's, all right, so what's changed since I left? And they're like, hey, remember hearing about that really tall guy that we traded you for? He's now on our team, and he's really good. His name is James.
Can you teach him how to actually hit the baseball hard? Because everything else.
and it's like, hey, remember when we sucked both at the end of your tenure and then after you left? Yeah, so because of that, we got this other guy. His name is Dylan. He's also in the outfield. Also good.
The best part is we don't even need you to play center ever a little bit. So the Nationals are a fascinating character in the Juan Soto sweepstakes, just lurking. But let's push them aside because he has not met with them yet, as far as we know. The 3 teams that have sat down with Juan Soto and exchanged words with him are the Toronto Blue Jays, not even American, the Boston Red Sox, and the New York Mets. And when these meetings happen, it is protocol for some sort of nugget from the meetings to make its way to the public. And this is what we have. John Heyman reports, quote, impressive in-person presentations from the Toronto Blue Jays. The Red Sox, Soto was, quote, impressed, unquote, by their presentation, per Sean McAdam. And with the Mets, quote, all early signs suggest the meeting went extremely well, per John Heyman. Jordan, which of these 3 indicates to you where Soto is going?
None of them. However, I do think we need to just contemplate why this is not information. The fact that they are meeting is information. We appreciate the reporting that is done to confirm that these sit-downs did happen. That I do care about. Sure. I don't really see a scenario. In fact, I would like to kind of find any precedent of any free agent meetings, which get reported on often, not necessarily always the guy at the very top, where the response is, no, he was bored. He was angry at one point. He did not like his appetizer at the Michelin star restaurant that we went to. What is, and also why would we get any sort of other information? If this information is leaking, why would it ever be negative? That is the question.
Right. And I love the idea of Juan Soto met with the Yankees and the result was, quote, catastrophic, or he was abhorrently bored. He fell asleep and had to be roused by Aaron Boone from his slumber.
Think about the flow of information. The incentive of any of this information getting out. Why would Scott Boras and Juan Soto want anyone to think that every meeting went other than great, right? Because all of this is negotiation, right? If the news coming out of the Red Sox meeting was, wow, that was a disaster, the Yankees are going to be like, okay, great, we don't have to worry about that. Not that they're going to worry about it.
We have to offer less.
Right. Now, again, how much is that going to impact other teams, actual negotiations? Who's to say? But that's the motivation behind all of it. And the same thing for the team standpoint in terms of leaking anything is, you don't want to be embarrassed. And so I'm sure you want to be like, yeah, he was smiling and nodding along the whole time. We crushed it.
If I'm the Yankees, I could go into my meeting and I could say, Juan, you're a bum. Your mom's a bum. Your brother's a bum. Everyone you've ever met is a bum. Here's $675 million. And Juan would be like,
meeting went well.
I am a bum. I am indeed a bum. Right. And this is why the Juan Soto free agent sweepstakes is different than the Roki Sasaki or first-time Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes, where it was like the presentations in those circumstances matter a ton because it's not about the money. And so you're selling the organization and what you can offer.
Yeah.
That is not necessarily the case here. If Soto gets a call at the 11th hour of his free agency from a team that he hasn't met with, and the number's right and the money's right, chances are it'll be in the mix.
Yeah. Here's the other thing about that in terms of comparing it to Sasaki, which is interesting. Like, Sasaki assuming he is going to go through the process of like actually sitting down with more than, two teams, he will absolutely be learning things. And it's not that Juan Soto is not learning things, meeting with Toronto and Boston, but he's been a big leaguer for 6 years. Like, he's going to already have a pretty sense. He's played in all these stadiums. Like, he understands at least sure, there's behind the scenes stuff and the spring training complex and the resource staff and the analytics, all those things. Sure. Fine. But for the most part, how much is he really learning? It's more about actually sitting down and getting to talk to another, person in another team, which is just not an opportunity they normally have. There's one other element about these meetings I want to bring up, but is there anything else that you wanted to hit on here?
Do you remember how important it was last winter when Ohtani went to Dunedin to see the Blue Jays spring training complex and was impressed with all of the things they had? And then he signed with the Dodgers. That's all I got to say.
The last thing about this, which is sort of related to what you just brought up, is if we're contrasting it with Ohtani, what was the other part of the Ohtani non-meetings? Don't tell anybody. He might hold this against you, right? Dave Roberts in what began to be a year of honesty from Dave Roberts, which God bless him.
Good year for honesty in America.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. At least for Dave. Dave Roberts was like, yeah, we met with him. And everyone was like, no. Brandon Gomes was like, I don't know what he's talking about. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, I bring that up because Alex Cora was asked about going to meet with Juan Soto, I believe. This is some good reporting from our good friend Chris Cotillo. And the quote from Cora was, when he was asked about it, people seem to love Juan Soto and his shuffle, he said. He was like smirking, and they said, I can't say I went or not. Obviously, there's a process in place. So this is another example where he's like, I don't know. Maybe I was there. Who's to say? And it's like, what are we doing? Because clearly this one, especially with Boris being in charge, that's the other thing, right? With the Ohtani, with CAA and the way they were handling it, whether it was actually secretive or not, it was a different process. Boris is the opposite. It's like, here's who's it is a parade. It is like, here's how it's going, and we will get these goofy updates along the way, which we can appreciate because we can laugh about them on our podcast as we wait for stuff to actually happen.
I hope you met with him, Alex Cora. The alternative would be concerning, right? If you're interested in Juan Soto, the manager of the team should be in the meeting. And so that, in my mind, the least, is a very good thing. Enough about Juan Soto. Actually, no, that's not true. One more Juan Soto thing. So I did officiate this wedding over the weekend, and I'll talk a little bit about that later because I almost really screwed it up. And when you're meeting new people of a certain age, at a wedding, say, and they find out you work in baseball, say, and a lot of the people are Yankees fans, say. I don't know if you've had this specific experience, say. Is Juan Soto really worth it? Someone will ask. The defense isn't that good. He's not that fast. Should they be spending that money on him? Isn't it better allocated elsewhere? And let me say this to you, my dear listeners. If you are presented with this situation, the response is actually very simple. You say, did you watch the home run he hit against Cleveland? No one else can do that. No one else in the world can do that specific type of thing, of working an at-bat, of making the pitcher sweat, of providing unfettered stress in the brain of the opponent. And so, yes, his defense is bleh. He is not a good base runner, but there's only one Juan Soto.
Perhaps I am unfairly extrapolating. However, I am reading that logic and talking yourself, particularly from Yankees fans. I cannot understand that at all from like fans of other teams who would love to have Juan Soto, obviously. It's almost like the anticipation of like starting to wrap your minds around them not getting him. So you can be like, well, it wouldn't have been worth it. It's fine. We're good. I'm chilling. Not my problem. His defense sucks. I didn't want him on my team anyway. It's like, I don't believe you.
And
I don't believe
what
you.
are the Yankees? What are they trying to do? Win championships. And what does defense do? I believe defense wins championships.
Do you know what defense also does? Defense also loses championships. As
the Yankees showed us.
Yes, in Game 5.